In the very terrifying calculus of modern warfare, there's a simple rule. If you see a flash, dig a hole. For 100 years, the Earth has been a soldier's best friend. A trench, a bunker, or a concrete basement was the only thing standing between life and death. Against shrapnel, against bullets, and against standard artillery, the ground protects you. But there is a weapon designed specifically to break this rule. A weapon that turns the safety of a bunker into a death trap. A weapon that doesn't hunt for your body, but hunts for the air you breathe. They are technically called thermobaric weapons. The media calls them vacuum bombs. Soldiers who have survived them, and there are very few, call them the eraser. So, unlike a normal bomb that throws metal fragments, a thermobaric weapon changes the atmosphere itself. It turns the air in a cave, a tunnel, or a city block into a weapon of mass destruction. It creates a pressure wave so brutal that it kills without leaving a scratch on the outside of the body. And today we are going deep into the physics of the poor man's nuke. We will examine its dark history from Vietnam to Ukraine and explain why, when this weapon falls, hiding is the worst thing you can do. To understand the horror, first we need to look at the chemistry. You see, a conventional bomb like a 500-pound JDAM is actually inefficient. It is roughly 25% explosive material and 75% metal casing. Crucially, that explosive material contains its own oxidizer. It brings its own oxygen to the party so it can explode underwater or underground. And in this specific area, the thermobaric weapon is very different. It is almost 100% fuel. It creates no shrapnel. It doesn't bring its own oxygen. It basically plans to steal yours. This makes it terrifyingly efficient. Pound for pound, a thermobaric weapon carries significantly more energy than a conventional explosive, simply because it uses the atmosphere as half of its chemical reaction. The detonation sequence is the stuff of nightmares. Stage 1. The munition bursts open in the air. It does not explode yet. Instead, it spreads a massive cloud of aerosolized fuel, usually a mix of ethylene oxide or fine aluminum powder. Because this cloud is heavier than air, it behaves like a fluid. It sinks, it flows into open windows, it pours down trench lines. It seeps into the firing ports of bunkers. And now stage 2. A fraction of a second later, a secondary charge detonates. Because the fuel is now perfectly mixed with the surrounding air, the entire cloud ignites instantly. The result is a fireball that burns at 2500 degrees Celsius. But the fire isn't the main killer. The killer is the pressure. When that cloud ignites, two things happen to the human body. First, the positive pressure wave. The explosion expands at supersonic speeds, 3,000 meters per second. If you are close, this wave simply pulverizes bone. It is a Brison's effect, shattering materials instantly. And then comes the phenomenon that gives the weapon its nickname, the vacuum. The explosion consumes all oxygen in the blast zone instantly. The hot gases rise rapidly, and this creates a massive low-pressure void at the epicenter. The surrounding atmosphere rushes back to fill this void. This is called the negative pressure phase. And this is exactly where biology gets quite grim. If you're hiding in a bunker, you are safe from the fire. However, you are far from safe from the pressure drop. The air inside your body, in your lungs, in your ears, and your intestines, is at normal pressure. The air outside drops to a near vacuum. Physics dictates that high pressure must move to low pressure. The air inside you will try to escape, and it will try to do so violently. This causes something called pulmonary barotrauma. Your lungs effectively rupture from the inside out. The delicate alveoli sacs tear apart. Survivors of these attacks, if they survive the initial blast, often suffocate minutes later because their lungs fill with fluid. They basically drown on dry land. And it even gets worse. The tearing of the lungs allows air bubbles to enter the bloodstream. These travel to the brain, causing air embolisms. This means a soldier can be hiding behind a thick concrete wall, completely untouched by fire or shrapnel, and yet drop dead from a stroke caused by an explosion 50 meters away. You see, this technology wasn't invented for killing people, at least not initially. Ironically, it was invented to land helicopters. In the Vietnam War, the US military needed to create landing zones in thick jungles instantly. Chainsaws took too long. High explosive left craters that helicopters couldn't land in. So what they needed is a weapon that would sweep the trees away but leave the ground flat. Enter the BLU-82, aka Daisy Cutter. While not a pure thermobaric weapon, it operated on similar principles of massive overpressure. When dropped, it flattened acres of jungle without digging a crater. And of course, the military quickly realized that if it could clear trees, it could clear caves. Fast forward to 2001, the Battle of Tora Bora in Afghanistan. Al-Qaeda fighters were hiding in deep, complex cave networks that conventional airstrikes could not destroy. The US deployed the BLU-118B thermobaric bomb. And the logic was simple. You don't need to destroy the mountain. You just need to send a pressure wave deep into the tunnel. The wave travels through the tunnels like a piston in an engine, killing everyone inside regardless of how deep they are hiding. While the US uses these weapons occasionally, the Russian military built an entire doctrine around them. Meet the Solent Sepik, which translates to sun heat. It does look like a tank, but it is actually a heavy flamethrower system. It launches 24 thermobaric rockets in roughly 6 seconds. The sun heat is not a precision weapon. It is an area saturation weapon. When a salvo lands, the shock waves overlap. This is crucial. In physics, this is called constructive interference. When two shock waves collide, they don't cancel each other out. They combine. The overlapping blasts from this thermobaric salvo create a zone of pressure so intense that it crushes light armored vehicles and collapses buildings entirely. For infantry caught in the 40,000 square meter kill zone, there is simply no survival. The pressure wave liquefies internal organs before the brain can even register the flash. However, the most terrifying evolution of this weapon isn't the giant bombs. It's in fact the tiny ones. You see, in modern conflicts like Ukraine, we are seeing the rise of micro-thermobarics. Soldiers are now equipping cheap, disposable FPV drones with small thermobaric warheads, often weighing less than 2 pounds. In the past, if a drone flew into a room and exploded with a fragmentation grenade, you might survive if you were behind a couch or in the next room. However, with a thermobaric warhead, the drone does not need to hit you directly. It just needs to enter the room. The pressure wave fills the enclosed space. The walls of the room contain the blast, amplifying the pressure. This has changed trench warfare forever. A bunker is no longer a shelter. It's a compression chamber waiting to be activated by a $500 drone. Now, thermobaric weapons occupy a dark space in international law. They are not explicitly banned by the Geneva Convention, unlike chemical or biological weapons. Yet, human rights organizations have argued for decades that they should be. The suffering they inflict, from the burning of the lungs to the crushing of the brain, is considered by many to be superfluous injury and unnecessary suffering. But as long as armies need to clear bunkers, caves, and trenches, the vacuum bomb will remain. It serves as a brutal reminder that our quest for safety, building thicker walls, deeper holes, and stronger bunkers, has only forced engineers to create a weapon that turns our own protection against us. And in the face of such powerful weapon, there is no cover. There is only distance. If you want to understand the terrifying engineering behind modern warfare, make sure to subscribe. And don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and hit that notification bell. Thanks for watching.